You know that moment when you're lying in bed at night, and suddenly that question hits you like a freight train. What actually happens when we die? If you're someone who's lived through decades, watched friends and family members pass on, and felt your own body starting to slow down, this isn't just curiosity anymore. It's become personal. It's become urgent. What if I told you that one of history's most enigmatic figures claimed to have seen exactly what awaits us on the other side? Edgar Cayce, the man they called the sleeping prophet, left behind detailed accounts of what he witnessed during his mystical trances. And there's one particular recording that's been kept away from public eyes for decades. Before we dive into these extraordinary revelations, hit that like button if you're ready to explore one of life's biggest mysteries. And make sure you subscribe because we're about to uncover insights that could completely transform how you view your remaining years. The recording I'm talking about surfaced recently when scholars were going through Cayce's archived materials. What they found was a conversation so direct, so clear about the death experience that it challenges everything we've been taught to fear. According to Cayce, death isn't this terrifying unknown we've made it out to be. It's actually a conscious transition, and here's the part that might shock you. You experience it with complete awareness. Think about that for a moment. You don't just slip away into nothingness. You don't lose yourself. Instead, Cayce described it as the most natural thing in the world, like finally waking up from a dream you didn't even realize you were having. For those of you who have been carrying this heavy fear about your final moments, what Cayce shared might just lift that weight off your shoulders. He wasn't trying to shock anyone or create some dramatic revelation. His goal was simple: to guide people away from the terror that comes from not knowing what's next. Here's what really gets me about Cayce's account. He said that when your spirit separates from your body, it happens so gently that there's no pain, no confusion, no violent ripping away from life. Instead, it's like the most peaceful awakening you can imagine. You suddenly realize you're still completely you, just existing on a different level. I've spoken to countless seniors who have heard this description, and the relief on their faces is immediate. There's something profoundly comforting about knowing that your consciousness doesn't just vanish. You remain aware, you remain yourself. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Cayce talked about what happens in those first moments after you cross over. He described something he called a life review, but not the kind of judgment-heavy experience that religions have scared us with for centuries. According to him, your consciousness travels through all your important moments in seconds, not to punish you, but to help you understand. Every bit of pain you caused, every moment of love you shared, it all comes back as pure sensation. No excuses, no hiding behind justifications, just raw truth. And here's the beautiful part: Cayce said this isn't imposed on you by some angry deity. Your own soul guides this process because it genuinely wants to understand the path it took. This completely flips the script on everything we've been taught about divine judgment, doesn't it? There's no fixed heaven or hell waiting for you. Instead, there are states of consciousness that you've created through your actions, feelings, and intentions throughout your life. Can you see how this changes everything? It transforms how you look at your mistakes, how you approach your remaining time, how you choose to spend these precious years you have left. Cayce didn't promise some perfect paradise, and he didn't threaten eternal damnation. He simply shared what he claimed to witness during his trances. And one of the most touching parts of his account deals with reunion. Picture this: after your spirit detaches from your body, you're not alone in this new space. Loved ones who have already made this journey are there to greet you. Your parents, siblings, close friends, even former partners who meant something to you. They're waiting with what Cayce described as silent but incredibly deep emotion. The recognition doesn't happen through physical appearance, it happens through feeling. You know them instantly because your souls recognize each other. For those of you who have already lost almost everyone who mattered to you, this image is incredibly powerful. You're not walking into the unknown alone. There's literally a welcoming committee of people who have been waiting for you. This completely transforms death from this scary final moment into something closer to a long-awaited reunion. Instead of fearing the end, you might actually start looking forward to seeing faces you've missed for years or even decades. Now here's something that might bend your mind a little. Cayce reported that time works completely differently on the spiritual plane. A single second can feel like forever, while years can pass in what feels like an instant. That's because your spirit moves by intention, not by the ticking of some cosmic clock. This explains why you might suddenly feel the presence of someone who died years ago. From their perspective, they might have just arrived, or they might be popping in to check on you because time isn't holding them back the way it holds us back here. But here's what really gets me excited about this. Cayce said that spirits continue to learn, grow, and even help the people they left behind. You know that sudden warmth you feel in your chest when you think about someone who's passed away. According to him, that might not just be your memory or longing. It could actually be their presence, subtle and gentle, trying to comfort you. For those of you approaching your own final chapter, knowing this could bring a kind of hope that's hard to put into words but easy to feel in your heart. If you're finding value in this content, take a moment to share it with someone who might need to hear these insights. Sometimes a single piece of information can calm years of worry. Cayce also emphasized something crucial about preparing for this transition. He wasn't talking about traditional religious preparation with all its rules and rituals. Instead, he focused on cultivating peace, gratitude, and awareness. According to him, your soul carries the vibration of what you've lived, not what you've accumulated in terms of money or status, but what you've felt and made others feel. He insisted that your moment of passing shouldn't be some accident of nature, but a dignified, conscious closure. That's why he recommended that everyone in their later years take time to review their life with complete honesty and serenity. Ask for forgiveness where you need to. Forgive others who have hurt you. Express gratitude for the experiences that shaped you. Free yourself from whatever's been weighing you down. And here's the key, you're not doing this to please some celestial judge. You're doing it to lighten your own soul. Because according to Cayce, everything you don't resolve here on earth, you take with you. In the spiritual world, this emotional baggage doesn't just disappear. It becomes even clearer, even more present. Those who understand this and do the work of resolution while they're still here depart with lightness. And those who depart with lightness begin their new journey in a much better position. Here's a fascinating detail from Cayce's account. He talked about people who completely deny any possibility of life after death. According to him, when these souls suddenly find themselves in this new reality, they can feel confused for a while. They don't suffer, but they take longer to realize they're no longer trapped in their physical body. In these cases, spiritual guides and family members work with incredible patience and delicacy to help the confused soul get its bearings. This shows us that it's not really about what you believe or don't believe. Believing or denying doesn't change the actual process, but it can definitely change how you experience it. This is why Cayce encouraged people to talk about death naturally, especially with elderly family members. For him, understanding the transition was a way to live the present moment better. Less fear means less resistance. Less resistance means more clarity. And in his view, the more mature your soul becomes, the simpler your passage will be. This maturity comes from accepting life exactly as it is, the good parts, the difficult parts, the confusing parts, all of it. Another aspect that Cayce emphasized was the continuity of bonds between people. He completely rejected the idea that death severs all connections. According to his accounts, genuine love creates permanent bridges between the physical world and the spiritual planes. This doesn't mean that people who have passed away remain trapped here, unable to move on. It means they can communicate when there's real attunement, a sincere thought, a quiet prayer, a powerful memory. All of these can become channels of contact. Cayce shared cases where spirits came to console those who remained behind, offering intuitions, guidance, or simply making their presence felt in subtle ways. For elderly people carrying guilt, regrets, or deep longing, this point is absolutely essential. It shows that it's still possible to express love, offer apologies, or simply give thanks even after someone has died. This brings incredible peace, and it also changes how you see your remaining days. Instead of just waiting for the end, you start living each moment with more authenticity, more presence, and more meaning. Cayce was also crystal clear about one thing: no one is abandoned in this process. Even people who have lived harsh lives, made serious mistakes, or strayed far from what most would consider good are still welcomed on the other side. According to him, souls aren't judged by human rules and standards. They're understood in their complete totality. Every pain, every choice, every regret gets analyzed with genuine compassion. He believed that making mistakes is simply part of how spirits learn and grow. Therefore, the soul gets guided to review its entire journey and decide for itself what needs to be adjusted in future experiences. This concept of reincarnation for Cayce wasn't about punishment. It was about second chances, as many chances as necessary for a soul to learn what it needs to learn. For elderly people who feel like there's no time left to change or make things right, this message is absolutely revolutionary. It shows that your soul isn't bound by the time limitations of your physical body. Your consciousness continues, learns, and evolves. Even after your last breath here, there's still a path forward, a path of growth, increasing clarity and fresh beginnings. The way Cayce described these new beginnings was simple but incredibly profound. After the transition, your soul spends time in what he called a plane of learning. Here, you review the choices you made, understand the effects of your actions, and prepare for whatever comes next. There's no rushing in this process, no external pressure or imposed deadlines. Your soul moves at exactly its own pace. Some souls remain longer in this state of reflection and learning, while others advance more quickly toward their next experience. Cayce compared it to a spiritual school where each student follows their own curriculum and timeline. For many seniors who have spent their entire lives dealing with obligations, deadlines, and external pressures, this idea offers tremendous relief. Knowing that there's time, that no one forces you to move faster than you're ready, that everything continues with respect for your individual process. This is both calming and encouraging. It encourages you to use your remaining days here to cultivate this kind of awareness, to look inward, to begin this learning process while you're still in your physical body. After all, according to Cayce, the more conscious and aware you become now, the smoother your crossing will be when the time comes. Here's another point that Cayce emphasized throughout his teachings: the incredible importance of small actions. He said that simple gestures like offering a sincere apology, performing an act of kindness, or speaking a genuine word of encouragement carry enormous weight in your soul's journey. Many people believe that what really counts are grand gestures or elaborate religious rituals, but Cayce insisted that what matters most is the intention behind each action, no matter how small. Your soul registers feelings and motivations, not appearances or public recognition. This teaching has immense value for people who are already in the final years of life, because it shows that it's never too late to do something that genuinely matters. It doesn't require dramatic changes or heroic actions. Sometimes a phone call to someone you've been avoiding, a heartfelt hug, or even a simple note can resolve an entire chapter of unfinished emotional business. And according to Cayce, these resolutions don't die with your body. They travel with your soul, relieving its weight and illuminating its consciousness. Every gesture of authentic truth, even the smallest ones, has the power to transform your afterlife experience. If this video is giving you new perspectives on life and death, consider leaving a comment about your own thoughts or experiences. Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear. Throughout many moments in this recovered interview, Cayce made it abundantly clear that life after death isn't a matter of religious belief. It's a matter of direct experience. He said that just like you don't need to believe in wind to feel it on your skin, you don't need to understand everything about the afterlife to successfully navigate the transition. What makes the real difference is how you choose to live right now. According to him, cultivating serenity, honesty, and love in your daily life prepares you in the most practical way possible. He didn't offer magic formulas or guarantee a completely pain-free path. He simply described what he claimed to see, a journey that continues with new possibilities and opportunities for growth. For elderly people who feel time slipping away faster each day, this vision can serve as a powerful invitation. An invitation to pause, breathe deeply, and reflect. To release fear and embrace the idea that your soul's journey continues far beyond your physical death. Every choice you make with authentic truth builds a bridge to what comes after, not as a final ending, but as the next chapter in an ongoing story. Throughout the interview, Cayce mentioned something really profound, that how you face death directly reflects how you faced life itself. People who have lived with harshness, bitterness, or constant fear often approach their time of departure with terror. Meanwhile, those who have learned to forgive both themselves and others, who can laugh at their own mistakes, and who have learned to value simplicity tend to face this moment with much more serenity. He emphasized that this isn't about following any particular religion or belief system. It's about developing genuine awareness and consciousness. When your soul leaves your body, it takes with it whatever you've built within yourself over the years. That's why taking care of your inner world becomes so critically important. Nobody can travel back in time to change what's already happened, but everyone can change how they deal with their past right now, in this present moment. For people in their golden years, this message carries incredible power. It shows that there's still time to clean up whatever was left unresolved, to make peace with whatever caused pain, and to find meaning even in the most difficult experiences you've lived through. Because everything that gets understood and processed with love transforms into light on your soul's path forward. Cayce also spoke frequently about a crucial distinction: the difference between attachment and genuine love. He explained that attachment creates bonds that restrict and limit, while true love actually sets everyone free. Often, by clinging too tightly to people who have already passed away, or to objects and memories from the past, we create barriers that actually hinder our own spiritual evolution. According to him, Honoring someone you've lost doesn't mean keeping them trapped in your pain and absence. Real honor comes from remembering them with gratitude, moving forward with purpose, and continuing to live with meaning and joy. For elderly people who have lost life partners, children, or siblings, this distinction becomes absolutely essential. It helps transform grief from a heavy anchor into a loving presence that actually supports your ongoing journey. Cayce suggested thinking of each good memory like a lit candle, rather than like a chain holding you back. By releasing what no longer belongs to your present moment, you open up space for a lighter, more authentic connection with those who have already passed. You relate to them not as someone desperately holding on, but as someone who loves in a mature way, confident that your bond remains strong even without physical presence. One of the most touching points in this interview involves what Cayce said about each soul's individual mission. He believed absolutely that nobody comes into this world by random chance. Every single life, no matter how simple it might appear or how much suffering it contains, serves a specific purpose. Sometimes this purpose isn't grand or obvious by worldly standards, but it's completely transformative for the person living it. A grandfather who shares wisdom with younger generations, a woman who raises children with genuine love, a man who works with honest integrity. All of these people fulfill fundamental roles in the larger tapestry of existence. Cayce said that after death, your soul understands this purpose much more clearly. When you finally realize that you fulfilled what you needed to accomplish, you experience profound peace. For elderly people who often wonder whether they've done enough with their lives, this revelation can bring tremendous comfort. Not everything needs to be spectacular or world-changing. The essential thing is living with authenticity and truth. Even if your particular mission isn't completely clear yet, it continues developing until your very last day. Every gesture still matters. Every thought still shapes your soul's destiny. Cayce also pointed out that fear of death often comes simply from facing the unknown. He compared the death experience to walking through a door that's always been right in front of you, but that you've spent your whole life avoiding. When you finally step through it, you discover that the space on the other side isn't dark, lonely, or frightening. Instead, it's peaceful and filled with profound meaning. He said that when your soul leaves your body, you go through a moment of deep recognition, a moment when absolutely everything makes perfect sense. All the mistakes, all the successes, all the encounters and disagreements fit together like pieces of a larger puzzle you couldn't see while you were putting it together. For many seniors who spend time questioning decisions they made in the past, wondering if they chose correctly, this image carries incredible power. Knowing that someday everything will be understood, that no pain was meaningless, offers a type of comfort that few words can provide. Perhaps that's why Cayce insisted so strongly that the end of life isn't a punishment or a tragic loss. It's simply the next step in something that's always been in progress, something much larger than what we can see from our current perspective. Another detail that stands out in Cayce's description involves the lightness your soul experiences when it separates from your body. He said that physical weight disappears so naturally that often your spirit only realizes it has detached when it tries to interact with the physical environment, and notices that it's no longer seen or heard by people still in their bodies. This account, which has been repeated by many others who have had near-death experiences, highlights something important. Death isn't a sudden, violent break from life. It's a smooth transition, like falling asleep in one place and gently waking up somewhere completely different. For elderly audiences, this type of explanation helps reduce fear because it replaces images of struggle and suffering with a vision of natural continuity. More than that, it reinforces the idea that everything you've lived and experienced continues to be part of your existence. Nothing gets lost or wasted. Cayce didn't promise miracles or impossible things, but he offered a logical framework that makes sense. If life is fundamentally about learning and growing, then death simply can't be the end of that process. It has to be the continuation of learning on a different level. In one final excerpt from this remarkable interview, someone asked Cayce what he would choose to do if he knew he had only one day left to live. His answer was beautifully direct and simple. He said he would spend that day giving thanks for the opportunity to have lived, to have learned, and to have shared experiences with others. He added that gratitude is the most powerful feeling any soul can carry into the afterlife. This statement, so simple and unadorned, reveals much about what he believed to be the secret of preparing well for departure. The goal isn't trying to escape death or desperately postponing the inevitable. The goal is preparing with full awareness and complete dignity. For seniors who are following this kind of content, perhaps this represents the greatest teaching of all. Even if your remaining days are limited, they still hold tremendous value. It's still possible to forgive, to embrace others, to smile genuinely, to understand more deeply. And making these choices changes everything. Living with sincere gratitude doesn't only transform your present experience, it also transforms whatever comes after your physical life ends. According to Cayce, souls that depart with gratitude travel much lighter into their next phase. And souls that travel light discover clearer, more beautiful paths ahead of them. Cayce emphasized that it wasn't necessary for people to believe everything he shared in his visions. He himself reinforced that his insights should be examined with an open heart, but also with careful discernment. The most important thing, according to him, was that each person should seek their own understanding of what it means to exist beyond the limitations of the physical body. He encouraged reading, meditation, and quiet personal reflection. He said that the more intimate your relationship becomes with inner silence, the easier it will be to understand the deepest mysteries of the soul. This suggestion might seem simple, but it carries enormous impact, especially for people who are living in a phase of natural recollection and contemplation. For many seniors, silence has become a regular part of daily life. When used well, this silence can transform into a space for encountering what is most profound within yourself. Cayce didn't claim to preach absolute, unchangeable truths. Instead, he offered keys to understanding. And the most powerful of these keys was this simple insight. Whoever learns to be genuinely at peace with their own silence walks confidently toward whatever comes next. During his final years of life, Cayce never backed down from the revelations he'd shared throughout his career. Even when criticized by skeptics and religious authorities, he remained firm in his mission to transmit what he believed would be useful for the evolution of human souls. He said that authentic truth, when it arrives, doesn't need elaborate defense or justification. It simply exists and speaks for itself. Therefore, he didn't make dramatic speeches or try to convince anyone through argument or pressure. He just described what he claimed to see during his trances with humility, respect, and genuine care for people who were seeking understanding. Today, so many decades after his death, his words continue to resonate, especially among people who already sense the approach of their own farewell to this world. This isn't because his insights provide final, definitive answers to life's biggest questions. It's because they open space for a completely new way of approaching the end of physical existence. For those who have lived through many decades, witnessed the world change dramatically multiple times, experienced both loss and victory, formed relationships and watched them end. Perhaps all that's really wanted at the end is exactly this: a little truth, spoken with genuine respect for the human experience. That's what Cayce offered throughout his life's work. Not impossible promises, but fresh perspectives. Not rigid dogmas, but possible paths forward that each person could explore according to their own understanding and readiness. In bringing this long-hidden interview to a close, Cayce made a statement that continues to echo among people seeking comfort when facing the inevitable. He said that nothing is more liberating than truly understanding that the soul is eternal. This phrase, spoken with complete serenity, still offers hope to those who are approaching their own transition. His intention was never to make people start viewing death with artificial joy or forced excitement. His goal was to help people approach their ending with understanding, with less paralyzing fear, and with greater acceptance of the natural cycle of existence. For elderly people who carry the accumulated weight of an entire lifetime, all the relationships, all the struggles, all the unanswered questions, perhaps this represents the ultimate lesson. You don't need to have figured out all the answers to life's mysteries. It's enough to be at peace with the questions themselves and to trust that your journey doesn't end when your body stops functioning. With each new day you're given, your soul continues preparing, learning, and strengthening itself. When the moment of departure finally arrives, you won't go alone, and you won't go lost or confused. You'll continue your journey, supported by everything you built with authentic love during your time here. Comment below if this message touched something deep within you, and consider sharing this video with someone who needs to hear these insights. Subscribe if you want to continue following content that honors and respects the profound journey you're on. There's something deeply, fundamentally human about wanting to understand where we go after everything we know ends here in this physical world. Perhaps that's why Cayce's words continue to reach across generations, offering hope to people who are facing their own final chapter. He didn't offer a ready-made, perfect heaven with golden streets and eternal bliss. He didn't describe terrible eternal punishments for human failings. Instead, he spoke of a natural continuity where each soul gets to continue evolving, learning, and reuniting with those it loved most deeply. This understanding in itself is enough to completely change how you view the life you're still living. For those approaching the end, this perspective can bring genuine serenity and peace. For those who still have significant time remaining, it can serve as an invitation to transformation, to live with more truth, more genuine affection, and more careful attention to what really matters. Because in the end, according to Cayce's vision, that's what travels with you into whatever comes next. The love you gave and received, the understanding you developed, the peace you cultivated, the gratitude you felt, these become the foundation for your continued journey. Cayce's final reminder echoes across the years. The end of physical life doesn't need to be a moment of terror or anguish. It can be a passage filled with meaning and dignity. And nobody needs to face this transition alone. There's always a loving presence, a cherished memory, or a soul-deep connection waiting on the other side with the same gentleness and care with which you say goodbye from this side. Those who have already sensed the presence of a loved one, even after their physical passing, understand that there's something far beyond what physical eyes can see. Cayce simply confirmed what many people already feel in their hearts. The bonds between souls don't dissolve when death occurs. These connections transform, they deepen through longing, and they become illuminated through genuine gratitude. Elderly people, with all their accumulated wisdom and experience, understand this better than anyone else. They've already lived through departures, farewells, and profound silences that only time can properly translate and explain. Cayce's insights don't serve as empty consolation or wishful thinking. They function as a bridge between rational understanding and authentic hope. He didn't romanticize death or pretend it was something other than what it is, but he also didn't approach it with fear or dread. He saw death as a completely natural part of the eternal cycle of existence. In sharing his visions with others, he left behind something precious, the possibility of looking at life's end with less terror and more genuine respect for the process. Each of his words seems designed to remind us that dying isn't the same as disappearing. It's simply continuing your journey in a different form. Continuing with dignity, awareness, and love is what every single one of us deserves. Your story, your experiences, your growth, none of it gets wasted or lost. It all becomes part of who you are as you move forward into whatever incredible adventure comes next.